Chairman, and thank you to the panel for being here. Thank you especially to Professor Edwards, who's been an extremely valuable expert in this area. And I share your concerns about the EPA and its role and Ms. Hedman's role in this, and Mr. Wahlberg made many important points in that regard. I'm going to ask some questions to Mr. Early. Mr. Early, you wrote a column for the Detroit News in October 2015. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter this op-ed into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
You've made clear here today and in your column that the decision to switch over to the Flint River was made by the previous emergency manager and the City Council, correct?
That is correct.
In your op-ed, you say it fell to me to oversee the implementation, correct?
That is correct.
Now, also in your op-ed, it says, it did not fall to me to question, second-guess, or invalidate the actions taken prior to my appointment. Do you really believe that?
I believe that based on the fact that there was no petition, there was no effort made to engage me to change what had already been implemented.
So, I'm sorry, so you believe, as an emergency manager, as someone who's put in charge of the city of Flint, it doesn't fall on you to question, second-guess, or invalidate any actions taken prior to your appointment?
No, what I mean by that is that it does not fall to me to arbitrarily change that, and that's what I was referring to.
Isn't the job of a city manager to question things? Mm-hmm. Isn't that why you're brought in?
That's part of the reason, yes.
If as a congressman, if I took the position that it's not my job to question, second-guess, or invalidate any actions that happened prior to my being here, would I be doing my job?
Well, if everybody were telling you that the project was on course and everything was going well, so there was nothing to second-guess.
So if Congress passes something in a previous term and I get elected, I'm just supposed to say, oh, well, everything's okay. I don't have any work here. Is that right?
What I'm saying is that you would obviously have to do your own due diligence, but if it comes up that there's nothing to change, there's nothing to change. And if people are telling you that the project is on course, keep in mind, that was only one of many projects in a distressed community that the emergency manager was responsible for.
So in your op-ed, you also say, at the time the decision was made, there was no way to predict such an unfortunate outcome. You also call it an unintended consequence with no blame to affix. So, as a person appointed in this position, or as an elected official like me, are we not supposed to concern ourselves with unintended consequences? We're just not supposed to think about those things?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that because of those unintended consequences, we now have what is known as the Flint water crisis. In hindsight, there's probably a lot more that everyone would have done, a lot more questioning everyone would have done, but when you have an 18-month window to turn around a distressed community going through its second round of state intervention, the object is to get the work done and enlist as many people as you can to assist you in getting that work done.
Isn't it your job to think about unintended consequences?
Well, we always think about the possibility of hypotheticals, absolutely.
And do you feel you did that in this case?
Well, I believe based on the information we were given, we acted responsibly and did what we did knowing the information we had at the time. Yes, sir.
All right. According to Michigan's emergency manager law, quote, upon appointment, an emergency manager shall act for and in the place and stead of the governing body and the office of chief administrative officer of the local government. Additionally, the emergency manager shall have broad powers to assure the local government's capacity to provide or cause to be provided as necessary governmental services essential to the public health, safety, and welfare. What, in your view, is the emergency manager's role in overseeing the daily duties of city employees?
Well, as I said earlier in my comments, as a city manager, I've always involved the elected and the appointed officials in the work that I do. And I did no different as the emergency manager in involving them because they're the experts. They're the ones that handle the day-to-day operations. So they were very much involved.
So when a city has an emergency manager, who's responsible for ensuring compliance with state and federal laws regarding safe drinking water?
Well, regarding anything, the emergency manager obviously is the person responsible for making sure that those things get done, and I've always accepted that.
So you take responsibility for that? Because in your op-ed, you say, the headline is, "Don't blame EM for Flint water disaster."
I'm trying to draw a distinction between responsibility and blame, sir. And we were all responsible by virtue of our roles. I was very responsible in my role as emergency
What
manager.
role did you have and what steps did you take in ensuring the Flint water treatment plant was prepared to meet state and federal drinking water standards, knowing that the Flint River would be the primary water source?
Well, we had regular meetings on the progress for upgrading the plant. As we got up to the switching over to the Flint water, I had regular meetings with the treatment staff. The mayor was a part of some regular meetings that we had. We all had discussions about the progress and the things that were being encountered in this switch. Once we made the switch and we got the complaints about the quality of the water, we went to the DEQ. We got boil water advisories, which are common in the case of treating water. We had meetings on a couple of occasions with the MDEQ to talk about what's going on and what is actually being treated. And let me again state for the record, in none of those meetings were the current issues that we're dealing with now a problem. They were not addressed. They were not issues brought to our attention. But we did everything we could to make sure we were being responsible to the complaints and the concerns about the quality of the water.
Yeah, I think responsibility involves paying attention to unintended consequences, thinking about what might happen. I see my time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.